1 million seats is the aim of a mass protest today across the streets of South Africa. Hundreds of restaurant owners are expected to participate in a peaceful protest to voice their hardships to President Cyril Ramaphosa. While sit-down meals are now allowed in restaurants under the current lockdown regulations, alcohol sales with meals is not permitted. This means a huge drop in income for many establishments. The Restaurants Association of South Africa is leading the campaign and has written to the presidency to ask for restaurants to be allowed to serve liquor to patrons nationwide. For more, let's bring in CEO of the association, that's Wendy, who joins us via our telephone line this morning. Wendy, thanks for always making time and welcome to the AM report. So, for many people who are struggling to connect the dots, how will seats on the streets help the National Coronavirus Council change its mind on this?
So one of the things we're going to highlight today is that we're an industry of unity, and that certainly outlines how difficult the last 20 weeks have been. I mean, the hardship that restaurateurs, as well as other liquor parts of the industry, have taken the toll on the last 20 weeks has just been very, very difficult. I mean, we can see how the last weeks have outlined how difficult it's been to keep the restaurant doors open. So we certainly have engaged with various other liquor bodies, the Taverners Association, the Independent Liquor Association, and we've certainly come up with solutions on how to lift the liquor ban. And we need government to listen to us. We've written to the President, we've asked him to join us. We've also asked him to join us at one of the million empty seats around the country to outline how empty our restaurants are as a result of the complexities currently taking place. The liquor, obviously the curfew is a problem for us, the inability to pay out the UIF timeless leave tours, which they gracefully extended yesterday, so we do appreciate that. Other factors like the insurance companies who haven't paid out, landlords, the banks closing lending on us, the inability to access any of the funding that's been available, and there's a number of other factors on the list that has really been concerning for us and the ability for us not to save the industry. But I think most importantly for us, through Corona, we had to take care of each other, and that is a relationship both between government and industry. And whilst the Minister of Tourism really has given us time and consultation to talk to her, there's nothing further on her scope and mandate that she can help us with in terms of reopening the industry for liquor, as well as sorting out certain issues within labour, and then most importantly, obviously, the curfew. So these conversations need to take place, and we need to find a workable solution with government. I mean, they need to give us some kind of support and respect that we are an important factor in this country, that we are iconic to the rest of the world, that the restaurants are part of the landscape of South Africa, and that we certainly do need them to look at making time to work and to come up with workable solutions that can bring people back to work. They can't just throw a deaf ear at the industry.
Right. And you've proposed some of those solutions. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, let's take stock of the impact of the pandemic on restaurants so far. According to some reports, about 209 of the 300 restaurant owners you've already spoken to are suggesting that they're likely to close after the COVID-19 pandemic, whenever that is. Give us an idea of how many people have been adversely impacted by the regulations in their current form.
So what we need to take stock of is, one, there are around about 3,000 restaurants in South Africa. 30% of those have closed permanently. Of the 70% that's left, 50% of those are unsure if they can ever open their doors again. And many of those restaurants are waiting for the lift of the liquor ban, the curfew, if there's funding, if there's cash flow, if there's support, or any of the things that I've spoken about. The other 50% have temporarily closed their doors until post-COVID, because there simply is not enough financial measures to keep their doors going. Other restaurants, which is a small percentage, have decided to keep their doors open and try and trade through this time. And it leaves us with around about 800,000 staff employed in the industry, of which we are close on 50 to 70%, 50% permanently retrenched, and a further 20% going on temporary unemployment. So the impact on the government's balance sheet is massive. And we need to bring these beautiful people back to work. And I think that today is really about outlining how diversified and how colourful our industry is, how many people get affected, and not only within the restaurant sector, but what we need to be reminded of is the ripple effect. How many other lives and livelihoods depend on a restaurant? Some people make the tablecloths or the napkins or the little furs that go on the printer, the person who does the extraction, the plumber. So there's so many other lives that are affected in the ripple effects of restaurants being closed.
It appears one of the big sticking points, Wendy, is around the sale of alcohol, even during sit-down services. Of course, the government's response has been, I guess, amplified in many respects. They're worried about the behavioral ramifications of South Africans being able to consume alcohol during this pandemic. You've suggested a few, I guess, interventions that can act as a middle ground. What are some of those?
So, they're certainly not cast in stone, and they certainly need exploration and they need consultation. We need to bring the clever people around to have a look at how we can implement it and whether there is a scope to put it in. So what we know is that COVID is going to be here for a long time, and liquor sales within the industry is important to us in keeping our businesses alive. So we certainly came up with a triage system of areas. So where communities and neighbourhoods and areas are responsible, they will get a white rating and they can certainly have alcohol in those areas. In the red areas where there are irresponsible behaviours and there's a lot of aggression and fighting and hostile cases being taken up, those areas become red areas. It's all governed by your address, and you can't access alcohol sales out of your community or outside of your address. So we've designed a liquor passport, or a booze passport as you call it. It's very easy tappable into every bottle store, into every restaurant, shebeen, tavern, etc. And it does certainly measure and manage the amount of alcohol you purchase and any infringements that you made. And if there's too many infringements in that space, that area gets shut down. We've got to look at solutions that we can work with, not just in the immediate week. We've got to look at solutions long term that we can take forward for the rest of time as we work through COVID.
My understanding is that one of those proposals also involved having patrons have a maximum of 2 drinks per meal. But a big part of what some restaurant owners were saying is that alcohol forms such a big part of their income. If we restrict it to just 2 drinks per meal, doesn't that defeat the purpose of trying to get as much income in as possible?
There's so many parts, there's different associations that are lobbying for different parts of the liquor ban. We're trying to look at a holistic approach and engage with all the liquor partners in ways that we can educate and mobilize communities to safely dispense liquor. So we're not looking at doing it in isolation. We have to now find a way that we can lift the liquor ban with everybody involved in the food chain. So, some of the other proposals also that we looked at was through COVID to not have private transport after 10 o'clock. So if the scientific evidence really is true and it lends itself to saying most of the car accidents are happening after 10 p.m., then let's not have private vehicles on the road. So people can still enjoy themselves, go out, be home before 10 o'clock, or make use of public transport.
And, Wendy, you and I have been in conversation about some of the struggles of restaurant owners for upwards of about 20 weeks now. In hindsight, how forthcoming has the state, the Coronavirus Command Council, been to some of the grievances you've raised during this period?
No, it's been a dark door. That door is shut. There is no access to communication, and it's most concerning because we got to take care of each other. And I keep highlighting that we need to work together. We can't just shut down every sector and shut down the restaurant industry and other parts, and I'm not speaking for the Taverners Association, but I know that they feel a lot of the same pain that we do. We can't just shut down without having consultation. We can't just shut down without having communication. If you are the cabinet that's responsible for making decisions, you have an obligation to talk to industry. You need to engage with us to look at workable solutions to rebuilding the businesses. And you can't just say it's off the cards and close it. There needs to be a format that we can look at. There has to be. And they have an obligation to talk to us. And I think that's the part of this process that's been most frustrating, is that no matter how many doors we've knocked on, how many letters we've written, how many opportunities we've given to present favourable solutions, the door just stays shut. And I think that the Minister of Cocktail has a responsibility to talk to us as industry. So does Minister Patel. And we keep getting pushed back to the Minister of Tourism, who has done everything within her mandate to help us reopen our restaurants.
Amongst the many other avenues that can be taken is a court challenge. Is that still on the cards for the Restaurant Association?
One of the things that we've done, and we've looked at consultation, we need to work with government, and all the threats and the legal action and all of that is not the first solution. The first solution is open up a slot in your diary, give us an opportunity to talk to you. Allow us a moment. Why should we have to spend hundreds and thousands of rands raising a court application to have a conversation? a conversation that could actually open up the economy, a conversation that could open up extended lives and livelihoods, bring people back to work. Why should it be a court case? That is a responsibility of the government to us as people and to business owners, to give us the opportunity to voice our opinions and consult with us. We're the experts in our business. And whilst we respect you as a leadership, you've got to be a leader in order for us to engage with you.
Wendy Alberts is the CEO of the Restaurant Association of South Africa. Thanks very much indeed for your time.